our mission is to create products that athletes love. I think the litmus test that we try to put over all that is we understand that play happens at all levels. I remember going back and when I was in college, come back to visit my little brother. And the first thing we do is go down to our, sports bin and try to find a football that we go out and throw in the yard. And when we found that right one, it was like, let's go. And I want that same feeling with every product we build.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Welcome to the show, Leave It Better. My guest today is Jake Licht, and he is the CEO of Báden Sports. I guess you took over this role in 2016. He oversees all aspects of the company's global operations, sales, and marketing. I think you've done some restructuring possibly the last few years and are growing some key partner relationships that we're really happy about. Jake is the third generation in a family business that's been around for 40 plus years. He married into the situation here to be part of the company, and we'll talk about that later, which is a cool story. But we're so happy here at the Side Out Foundation to have this partnership and relationship with Baden. Welcome to the show today, Jake.
Well, thank you very much. And, I just want to start by saying it is a real honor to be on. I have listened to some of the prior shows, some of the prior interviews you have done so far. And, Lori Corbelli, Terry Liskevich, Terry Pettit, the absolute legends of the sport, as well as, John Cook, Dan Fisher, guys that are still coaching, but future legends. And I think John Cook probably already falls into the legend category. It's been really fun to hear their stories. And I think a few of the things that have stood out to me in listening to those interviews is one, just what an amazing community the sport of volleyball has to have people with that level of success, eager to share their stories, eager to help people that are coming up in the sport, whether they're coaches or people like me on the kind of the business side. I've had the immense pleasure of being mentored by a few of those folks along the way, and it's just there's no question why the sport is growing and why there's such just positive momentum, but also just a really positive community surrounding it. And so I would just add too, I think one of my other takeaways was just, it was really nice to hear the way that there's no clear, path from point A to point Z in a career. It's fun to hear people who started as math teachers or pre-med students and ended up as immensely successful volleyball coaches or administrators. So there's hope for me still, Janice, but,
Okay.
As you'll hear in my story, my path has been anything but a straight line. So I'm excited to share a little bit about that with you today.
Yeah, right. Maybe let's jump there just real quick, because we'll give everybody they're going to be interested in hearing this. When I was doing a little research on Jake here, I found that his wife had a connection to Báden Sports, and they had kind of an unusual way of meeting. Jake went to Carnegie Mellon, and I'm like, Jake, you went to Carnegie Mellon. You're software engineer. You're like all these things that is so not a ball company kind of thing. Well, at least I thought, but it is. And you said that you married into this, and then you shared this story about how that all happened in your worldwide travels, and then you end up in a high-rise place somewhere on the West Coast, and you had a situation happen there for you that brought you to this point.
Yeah, I think for the sake of sort of sharing the point A to point Z, although I've got a long way before I'm at point Z in my career, to go kind of all the way back, maybe a little bit to how to connect some of those dots. Yeah, I grew up in Yakima, an agricultural town in central Washington state, not a hotbed of volleyball, although I had, many friends growing up that did play club volleyball and high school volleyball. But my dad was a physician. My mom actually grew up as a missionary kid in Thailand. And so throughout childhood, went to Thailand a number of times. And, during college, my freshman year of college, was over there and spent some time with a family that was involved in a consumer products company that distributed throughout Southeast Asia and Australia and elsewhere. And I just became fascinated with business. Having a dad that was a physician, and I'd never seen it. I didn't understand it. But in that moment, I remember that being kind of this aha moment for me. I just wanted to know more and learn more about how it all worked, and came back and declared, I'm going to be an international business major. And I couldn't wait to travel the world and do all of that, and signed up to be an international business major. Well, there's a language requirement. After talking to a few people, they said, well, if you're going to learn a language, learn Mandarin Chinese. Okay. I'll do that. Well, after a year of going through textbooks of Mandarin Chinese, I was like, I'm either going to stop doing this or I got to go to China. And so I studied abroad in China, and while there, walked into a Microsoft, a new Microsoft building in downtown Shanghai, and said, hey, can I do an internship here? And they said, well, we don't really have an internship program, but we could come up with something together. And I think back on that, that was sort of this introduction into the corporate world for me. And so fast forwarding, that led to internships at Boeing, another big Seattle company. And from there, I was a part of an accelerated leadership development program at Boeing for 2 years early in my career. And it was within sort of the IT software world, and which is what led me to Carnegie Mellon. And so did a master's there. And I think one of the takeaways that I had from that, I went through that whole program, that master's program, with a cohort of people. And I think there were 6 of us in our group. And I look back on that, and that was really for me where it was a group of, ambitious, motivated people going through this program together. And in the crucible of the challenges that we were going through and all that, we really began to determine kind of what our different strengths were and how to lean on each other to get through really challenging times, and, sort of reverting to our strengths. And I think you become much more clear in what your strengths are and aren't in those moments. And I think from there, I really traced that back to where I developed a really clear sense of my interest in leadership as sort of a discipline, but also just sort of an area that I wanted to grow in my career. And so that really kind of was the next, 10 years of, what I spent my time on at Boeing. And I was continuing to progress in my career there. And after moving back from California to Seattle, I moved into a building and met a girl. And I think she told me, I work at Báden Sports. And I was like, that must be like a sports marketing company. Never heard of it. I knew she was in marketing. I didn't know what that was, what Báden Sports was. And I just kind of assumed that, I had my own assumption. I had no idea of the family connection. And until I walked into her condo one day, and there was a Baden volleyball sitting on the ground. And I looked at it, and I said, wait, is that Baden? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I've always said Baden or Baden. You say Baden? And that was kind of when it all the light bulb went on, and it all kind of came together for me. And so I never, had envisioned becoming a ball maker. I'll tell you that right now. But, I met a girl, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Oh, I love that story. It's, we were talking a little bit about relationships and things that transpire, and yet your group, that you figured out what your strengths were and what you needed help in. What a valuable lesson that is. And this connection to your future wife and to Baden. Yeah. And not even knowing how to say the name. Yeah. Jake, come on now. I love it.
It's my plight. People don't know how to say my last name, and they don't know how to say the name of the company I work for. So for all of those of you out there, we say Baden. If you say Baden or Baden, no harm, no foul. I love actually traveling the country. You go down to Texas, and I talk to coach. I love them Baden balls. Those Baden balls are great. I just roll with that. I'm like, hey, thanks so much for the support. Yeah, it's a German word. It's it's one of the plights of the company is that you go around. A really short side note: we signed a big distributor in Germany recently, and I flew over there, and they kicked off the partnership in Baden, Germany. And so this is a German company, a German woman introducing me, and we were in Baden, Germany, which is what the company is named after. Although it was founded here in the U.S. by an American family, Baden is a unique and special place. It sort of has this aura of health and wellness. But I got up, and she introduced me to this room full of people, all these sales reps from across Europe. And she said, I'd like to introduce you to Jake Licht, the CEO of Baden Sports. And I was like, wait a minute. If I am in Baden, Germany, being introduced by a German person, they still say Baden. I don't know what hope the rest of us have, but yep.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that funny? I tell you. Interesting, really, that she would go through all that and say that. Very, very funny.
I think in the sport of volleyball right now, the big thing that everybody's looking at and trying to be, I don't think you could really say ahead of, but is the growth of boys and men's programs and what kind of ball they need. And there's sort of been a default that, Molten has had a ball out there that was really developed, I think, as an international style ball, but that has been adopted by the men's programs. And we had a ball out there. It had an internal construction type. And, it was something I remember being at AVCA 2 years ago and talking to Mick Haley, who had helped us get it into Michigan and Minnesota boys programs. And he said, well, here's the thing. I've been talking to some of the coaches and the ball is great. It holds up, feels great. But more and more of these boys programs, when they're being recruited, and just being evaluated in general, is they're actually using like radar guns to see how fast the ball is coming off the hand on a spike or on, just on any type of hit. And they said, your ball's not coming off as fast. I mean, it was like, what? What? And so digging into that, being curious, being willing to say, well, okay, that's not information we had. What does that mean? Let's go talk to some folks. And so maybe the simple answer is just being curious and trying to have your radar on all the time. And I think in that case, we were looking at it from the standpoint of, is this ball durable enough to withstand the power and speed of the boys' game? And the answer was yes. What we didn't understand was that they wanted that speed as a measure was really important to them. And to do that, you had to build the ball differently. And so we've gone back, and redeveloped that ball from really the inside out. Curiosity's got to be at the forefront all the time.
Yeah, that is fun to hear. And Mick Haley would be the one that would be out there finding, the questions and getting the information. That's our guy.
And it's been fun. I mean, I think one of the stories I sort of had in the back of my mind to maybe share, but, I just that idea of building products that athletes love or creating products that athletes love. There's a women's pro league that's player led. It's called Athletes Unlimited, and we're their partner in basketball. Well, they kind of came to us. They said, well, we've been partners with brand A for a while now, and brands B, C, and D are all sending us balls that, they want us to consider them as our official partner. And they said, we'd love to see if Báden has something. And we sent them that new ball I was just referring to that we've been developing. The players played with all the balls for several months, and they came back and they said, all right, it is clear. We want Báden. And to me, like, that just is kind of everything. It was sort of like, we're here to create products that athletes love. Well, here you had a group of, professional volleyball players that literally got to choose of all the brands, which one do we want to work with? And they chose the ball, that we had created. And back to kind of my explanation initially, Steve, that around how you even learn how to create the ball, like what are the inputs, what are the attributes that are important to have that, level of curiosity. We didn't just come out and say, here's the new ball. It's awesome. You're going to love it. You should, we kind of really listened to the players and developed something that, we really believed we had hit the marks on for the attributes they were looking for. And to have that validated was pretty awesome.
Well, no, I want to know, is that ball in the catalog? People are going to want to know.
We're working on the catalog today. I think it will be.
All right.
Gosh, I'd love to show it to you. It's very cool looking.
Oh, it is.
Really unique.
That's the other thing I like. So, Jake, your relationship with the Side Out Foundation, you made our official Dig Pink Volleyball, Side Out Foundation Volleyball, which we're so proud of. And you have now recently, we're moving into, and I think we can see over your shoulder there, that we're also going into manufacturing and Báden carrying official Dig Pink jersey.
After joining the company in 2014, I came in as the head of operations. And after a few years, I took over kind of a broader responsibility for managing the Báden business, which is our inflatables and, baseball, our core business as a company. And that was the first year I attended AVCA, 2016. So I was Columbus, Ohio, Texas, Minnesota, Nebraska, I think Stanford. And that was my, the sport of volleyball is having this aha moment, around the country, certainly across the country and probably around the world. But I'll tell you, I could trace my aha moment back to 2016 in Columbus, Ohio, seeing the sport played under the lights with the caliber of play, that exists within the Final Four. I came back going, oh my God, I became, an evangelist. I mean, and so I say that, recognizing the irony that, I'm working at a company that in many ways is known for volleyball. And that I had that aha moment a couple of years in. But being on the operations side, the product side, I'm kind of dealing with global supply chain, things like that. Yeah. I wasn't out in the market as much. And so having that experience to be at AVCA, I mean, just a hugely important partner for Baden. And then to be at that event and to see it, I was sold. I was all in. And it has made my journey at Baden so much, more exciting, and to be coming, to have that realization and to develop a real passion for the sport on so many levels, and and bringing that into the way we build our products and choose our partners. And so I learned about Baden's relationship with the Side Out Foundation kind of along that same journey. In fact, I probably met Rick and Tim at the time at AVCA that year, and then began learning about the organization and its mission. But I can also tell you that for me, it really hit home. And the more that I learned, the more invested I became in, wanting to see this partnership grow. And I think for us as a company that has, frankly, quite a few partners overall.
Yeah.
But that this one stood apart for me in so many ways. And just to kind of jump right into it, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2003, in my early 20s. It was caught early, sort of through lumpectomy and some follow-on procedures. It went into remission, and it was in remission for years. I mean, I think close to 10 years. But in 2016, during a kind of a standard scan, saw that something had come back. It had spread into her lymph nodes. And at the time, they thought they caught it fairly early. Mm-hmm. But 6 months or so later, she went in for more complete scans and found that it had metastasized into her lungs and into her spine. I could talk about this for a long time, and I'll try, I'm trying to make it somewhat brief because I think so many of us have a similar story. But I think I would just say a couple things about it. One was from the very beginning, when you hear metastatic breast cancer, yeah, it's hard not to go to the darkest place, right?
Yeah, right.
But I'd say I remember from her very first communication to us as a family, the silver lining to a degree that she was also able to share. So there was just the bomb of the message being delivered. But I remember very vividly the message of, but there are new drugs in the market that are, recently approved, some of them just having finished trials, and really being able to take some, to place some hope in where cancer research has progressed and what options would be available to her that weren't even available to people 5 years prior. And she started on a drug called Ibrance right out of the gate, and it worked, and I mean that in a relative sense, right? Mm-hmm. But her quality of life and length of life were absolutely affected for the better by having this relatively new drug. And, and they were clear that this was only going to last. They didn't know how long it would last and continue to be effective.
Yeah.
But now kind of bringing that back to the Side Out Foundation and the idea of doing clinical research to understand how different medicines or, different, I guess, approaches to care for people with metastatic breast cancer, there is no one size fits all solution. And so that this, clinical research to be done to find that best fit for individuals is a really interesting and unique approach. And to me, it really hit home because I think after Ibrance lost its efficacy over, 5 years or so, the doctors tried several other drugs, and it was sort of this let's try it. Let's see what it does for 2 months. Oh, it appears, the cancer cells are growing. Let's get off this one and try this next one. And so I've really seen that process firsthand. And I think have a deeper understanding and appreciation for what it means to be doing, clinical research to find those better solutions. So I know I went back pretty far in trying to answer your question about why I'm excited to be, a part of the Dig Pink mission and to be playing a small part in that through the products that Baden makes through our partnership. But yeah, we made the ball, we made the ball for a number of years. And as Baden ventures into team uniforms and custom team uniforms, it was just what a cool opportunity to come up with some really unique design, something that we could kind of all go out and say, check it out. We're trying to raise, broader awareness, excitement around hosting Dig Pink events and what that can look like. And we're really excited to be a part of it and to introduce, hopefully you can see them over my shoulder there clearly enough, but some really fun designs.
Yeah, they're a great looking jersey.
Yeah.
For those of you that may not know, when he's talking about metastatic breast cancer, and this is something I do find, this is the form of cancer where there is currently no cure. And so the Side Out Foundation, as Jake is talking about here, is working to find more solutions through helping our patients first with analysis that gives them the best treatment solutions, and then our research, clinical research, to continue to find markers and things along the way that will help more people. And I'm sorry that your mother and your family is having to deal with that. Not that many people that I get an opportunity to talk with have gone through such a path. And I am really thankful to hear the number of years that your mom has been doing well.
Yeah. And to be clear, like she's doing well right now. I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all of those things.
Yeah.
But we just, we had our whole family together last week here in the Seattle area, and boy, she did it all.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's incredible to see, the strength that she has as an individual in living through this and knowing that she wakes up every day, knowing that she has this incurable disease, but also to see the way that, to put it directly, I guess like modern science has really helped her live a quality of life that would not have been available.
Yeah.
Even a few short years ago.
Yes. And we are grateful for the fact that you are also partnered with us to help let people know so that if they have someone in their family or in their community and they're made aware about the Side Out Foundation and the kind of work that we're doing. And then also if they are so inclined to do a campaign to help us fund that research, we're so thankful for that, because it's, volleyball is the number one girls team sport in terms of numbers. And so there's, as you know, last year we filled 92,003 people in a stadium to watch a game in Nebraska. For me, being a collegiate coach and being in that career for so long, and now having this opportunity to be in this space, I can't tell you how thankful I am for the Baden connection and the Baden partnership. And hopefully together we're going to do some really great things to continue to make a difference for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the parts of you in the business, and I don't know if we really want to go here or not, but you're jumping into this big role with Baden happened as a result of the loss of Michael. And that was a pretty devastating piece for Baden's company. But you and your brother-in-law have taken over key roles.
When I joined the company in 2014, I shared a little bit about that. Before I did, I was already a part of the family for several years before the idea of me being a part of the company really kind of ever came to the forefront. And so I had a chance to really see my father-in-law, Michael, who with his father really basically founded the company in the late 70s. But I had a chance to see who he was as a leader while getting to know him as a person. Seeing my wife was working the company at the time too. and then brother-in-law, her younger brother was already a part of the company. And so as you can imagine, anybody who's been a part of a small business, and I think coaches are the same way they go home, every dinner discussion, right, is something about what happened today and I had never seen that before. But getting to be a part of it, I think I really did gain a pretty good perspective on, where Baden was as a business, the opportunities it had, the challenges that it had, and the way that certainly Michael went about making those decisions. So I came on board at a time where the company was had some sort of growth opportunities and needed somebody to come in to really pull those things together. And sort of my background in project management, program management sort of suited me well, I guess. But, I got to work alongside of Michael from 2014 through 2020. And as you said, right before the pandemic, it was February of 2020, he passed away suddenly, completely unexpected. I was named CEO on March 1st or 2nd of 2020. And by March 23rd, which just happened to be my 40th birthday, Washington State, which if anybody remembers, was one of the first areas that had, a real core of COVID cases. And so, our governor locally said all businesses must shut down. And so, to say that it was a trial by fire would be probably the biggest understatement I could make. We're a sporting goods company primarily focused in youth sports. And as we all know, sports evaporated overnight. So that first 18 months was an extremely trying time. Imagine the losing your CEO as a business, but also losing your father-in-law and everything that did to the family, very directly. And so, family businesses, I guess it's just a reality, and it's a somewhat cruel one when there's a tragedy like that. I would say things that I look back and I'm grateful for. I had been COO for about 4 years at that point and had been largely running the Baden business with, a lot of guidance and oversight from him. But there was a lot of trust in both Casey, my brother-in-law, and I at that point already. And so in terms of stepping in and stepping up, I felt like apart from all the completely unique challenges that the pandemic brought about, we were able to step into that role and just begin learning like crazy. And so I'm grateful for that. And I think if, looking back, 4 years-ish, I think the other thing that happened from that, and I'm really grasping for silver linings here, by the way, but there was a very clean break. It was a forcing function for us to revisit some of the really foundational questions that all businesses have. Like, what are we here to do? What are we good at? Why do we exist? And what is our mission? And I don't mean to get into, corporate jargony talk. But I do think even for coaches and for people that are looking at how to build a team, how to bring people together to pursue a common vision and to work your asses off to make it happen. I think it's sort of a universal concept. So, I think for us, I went back, I talked to all of our employees. Why do you work here? Why do you choose to be at Baden instead of somewhere else? And I talked to our partners and some of our customers, and I'll be quick about this because, again, I don't want to make this overly corporate jargony, but, our purpose was, and this really was also, shown through during the pandemic, but our purpose is that we are a group of people that believe that sports are critical for building healthy individuals and communities. And we're here to make play happen. Okay, well, that's great. There's probably I bet Dig Pink believes a lot of that, Side Out Foundation rather. And a lot of other people do too. So what is Baden's unique mission in that? And what we came out with was, we're really here to create products that athletes love and to inspire play in all that we do. And I think we inspire play when we build a product that athletes truly love, but we also inspire play in our actions. Like if we know there is a match on Friday and we don't have that product to our customer, you could go out and talk to any of our customer service reps. They're going to bend over backwards because they understand that like our actions are part of what inspires play. And I think, just to finish on another idea, it'd be easy to say our mission is to create products that athletes love. Oh, that means we only focus at the very top tier product and the most competitive product. But I think the litmus test that we try to put over all that is we understand that play happens at all levels. But my own experience in this is I remember going back and when I was in college, coming back to visit my little brother. And the first thing we do is go down to our, sports bin and try to find a football that we go out and throw in the yard. And when we found that just that right one, it was like, oh, let's go. And I want that same feeling with every product we build. Mm-hmm. And that is the lens, like I said, that we put over, all of our product development stuff that we're doing. But that could even mean for a kid that's going to play with a basketball in his driveway or a volleyball, pounding it against their garage door. It's not just about building the highest, highest grade, most expensive stuff. It's understanding what that athlete, where they are in their journey and what inspiration looks like for them. And then building products accordingly. And I do think at the highest levels that we are, lucky enough to get to play in at the NCAA level and the high school level, and soon even at the pro level, understanding what the product needs to be to match the passion that those athletes have put in. The Olympics are a great reminder of that. I love those little, vignettes they do where they're showing this is what this athlete has put in their family and their coaches. And if you don't build a product that meets them at that level, we have failed. And so it's been a really powerful, I think, to revisit that after a pandemic, after a transition in leadership and the loss of an absolute, patriarch of the company, but to then have a group, and I mean holistically, the company come together and go, yeah, this is what we're here to do, has been extremely galvanizing and inspiring. And I feel lucky to be a part of it. I hope that wasn't overly corporate for this
actually,
audience.
I'm super inspired right now.
All right.
And, I think, one of the things too for the Side Out Foundation is that we are trying to, make that connection and listen to and build an advocacy group within communities, because volleyball is so fun and volleyball can, if you got the right passion about some things, can make a difference in other people's lives if they choose to do that. You gave me goosebumps again. I've had a lot of goosebumps today. Yeah. So, one of the things, Jake, I think is Rick Dunitz, our founder, started to do some things to kind of restructure us. Mm-hmm. A couple people that I think you've now had an opportunity to work with is our board chair, Gary Thompson, and Ellen Dempsey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that we've connected a number of times. And I think, Gary and I, from the first call we ever had, I think recognized that, that we really came to a lot of these, the challenges of growing businesses or initiatives with a similar level of, passion and desire to really be clear. And I think Ellen has brought that to whole new levels. What a focused and capable, my gosh. And so it's really fun to get to work with people like that.
Yeah.
And Rick too. When you have that level, it's like what we were saying, when you really are clear in what you're wanting to pursue or what you're out there to do every day, it's really fun to get to be surrounded by people that bring a similar level of enthusiasm, capacity, capability, all those things. And to your point, it's made this partnership something that I'm more excited about than ever because it's getting stuff done. It's picking our next target and working hard to make it happen. And ultimately, bringing hopefully the benefit from all of that hard work to bear on this very worthy cause. Yeah. It's been really fun to get to know those two, and boy, what a blessing to have them involved.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of companies that still have representatives. I guess that's I don't know exactly what you call them, that are working directly with schools and entities. Is that still you guys still have that, right?
Yeah, we kind of do it all. We work through, a lot of B2B relationships. Getting out and being in the schools is something that I wish I could quote you how many high schools are in the country, but it's hard to get into all of them, no less middle schools and even, all the different levels of collegiate programs. So we do go to market, both directly where that's possible, but I'd say for the most part, we still work through partners that have those sales reps that cover every little market in the country.
Okay.
So we work with a lot of partners to do that as well.
Yeah. I guess one of the things for the Side Out Foundation, when you're talking about the the reach here, and the enthusiasm and the buy-in and the understanding of what's happening here. We do experience that with our supporters, those that are doing campaigns for us, and they understand the research that we're doing. They understand the role they have gotten their communities deep into this. So I really look forward to our partnership continuing to. Maybe we'll reach and touch a few more folks that just didn't know yet.
Yeah.
And have an interest in trying to do some things.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly excited to help get the message out there, more broadly, and excited. I think we're going to be kicking a lot of that off, this week, certainly around the uniforms and reminding folks to not just get the jerseys and the balls, but to understand what it means to put on a Dig Pink event and to really get behind the initiative holistically within their schools or club programs, whatever that may be.
Yeah, that's a really big deal, Jake. Yeah. That's a really big deal for the Slide Out Foundation to do that. And I know we're going to have some additional pictures along with this recording that we'll share for folks so that if they want to find how to get them, where to go, they'll be able to get to that from this podcast.
Yeah.
So I have to say, so you're in the business of making a difference. We're in the business. This is called the Leave It Better podcast. Is there any one thing or any thing that we haven't mentioned yet, or if you want to circle back on, that you have felt was one of those big accomplishments or times that Jake and his efforts and what he was doing really made life better?
Boy,
I'm sorry. I threw that question in on you.
I hope there's a lot of ways that I could answer that and outside of the work environment, certainly. But I think given the stories maybe I've shared today and the context by which anyone listening is sort of getting to know me in Baden, for me, I think the thing that I would go to is, I think there are very few companies that make it from a first generation to second generation, and even fewer. And I've heard the percentages before, but from a second generation to a third generation, and to do that through a really trying time, both in the way that we lost Michael and then also went through a pandemic. And I think I'm probably most proud of the way that not just but I guess for me as a leader and in the role that I have to bring people together and to sort of collectively say, what are we here to do? And when you get clear on that, it allows people to buy in, to put, I think, their best effort in and to feel like they're part of something. And I feel like that's happening at Baden. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I would say, I'm proud that we are a company that does not feel like we're in a third generation transition that is, kind of sputtering out and sort of directionless, wondering where to go. I feel like we're a group that is, fired up, and I think a team that is very excited about what we set out to do every day with our mission. And so I think in the sense of like, how do I think of what it means to leave it better at Baden? Mm-hmm. I think I still have hopefully years to go on pursuing making it better. But I'm proud of I guess where we are in the beginning of this journey for the next 40 years. And so I hope that I can look around and one day look back and say, whatever time I spent in this role at Baden, we became, a stronger team, a team driven by a strong sense of purpose and mission, and made some great products that athletes love. And if I can do that, I feel like I will, in this role, in the, in the constraints that I'm giving this answer, I would feel very proud about that. And I'm excited to continue to wake up and do that every day.
Yeah. Well, I definitely see that chart going up, 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 up. And who knows where it's going to go.
We'll see.
I love everything I'm hearing. And I want to thank you, Jake, for being on today.
It's really an honor to be a part of this community. Volleyball is an incredible sport. And I guess have the opportunity to go, into a number of sports, go to trade shows, go to coaches conventions. And I got to tell you, like every time I go to, the volleyball, whether it's AVCA or just a state coaches convention, the community that volleyball has is really special.
They are.
And it's one where there's a lot of really, really positive energy and support. And I have been so fortunate, in my journey from point A to point Z is sort of one of the themes, I guess, of this of my story here. I have just had some of these, Terry Liskevich, I talk to him probably once a month. And to get a call from somebody like that to talk business, to talk leadership, to talk, it sort of gives me chills just to think about it. But Mick Haley, he just calls me up, hey, just want to check in. So to have people like that, as I'm going through what I'd still consider hopefully an early phase of my career in leadership, to have people like that so willing to reach out, to help, to help guide is something I don't take for granted. And I think speaks to the community that volleyball has. And so I'm just very grateful for it. And, just love being on here with you today. So, Janice, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.